What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you like that intro. So let's get cracking on an update on the Z. So did a couple of troubleshooting things and came to find out that the car is running on 5 cylinders. The cylinder here in the back, I forget the number sequence, but the one all the way in the back is not firing. So we tried coil packs, which I knew worked. I even swapped one that I knew was working from the engine to the other one. Still nothing. Pulled out the spark plug, tried to just to see if the plug was the issue, but it actually looked fine. It was just one of those things we just did. So now next thing that I'm leaning forward to is that something in the injector or connectivity sending power to the coil pack or to the injector harness, something is up either in that sense, or the injector is just messed up or not firing. So next thing I'm going to be doing is taking the plenum off, getting the injectors out. I'm going to probably slide over to Chris's, have him clean those, make sure everything's flowing correctly, and then keep going. Because yeah, the whole thing is that the car is now running on 5 cylinders. All the electrical stuff is fine, no fuses are popping, everything is in order. So I just got to figure this out and figure out why that cylinder's not firing. But we'll get into that a little bit later in this video, as in removing everything and getting the injectors out. So moving over here, a little update. The sedan is sold, so the G35 sedan is no longer part of the family. I love that car, but it was time to move on. As you can see, the G37 is coming along. I'm still looking for some parts. If you guys know anybody, hit me up, especially if you're in Florida. Hit my line. And then this little gem that we have here is a part out car, which I picked up just to sell some parts off of it. I'll insert a video right here of what the motor sounds like. It's a 2007 manual G35. As you can tell, it comes with a rev up. So yeah, that's a little update on the cars. Let's get cracking into, I don't know.
Troy Savage.
Alright guys, so a few days have passed and I actually have been doing a little bit more diagnostic on the Z. So I said that in the last clip that I was going to be trying to see if there was anything up with the injectors. So the first thing I did before even going and getting them cleaned and tested and all that was I swapped the injector from a cylinder that I knew was working to the cylinder that wasn't working, and it did the same thing, which I believe that's cylinder 6. It's the one all the way in the back. Same thing, still dead. So I'm like, all right, let me dive in a little deeper. And I was like, let me swap out the injector harness. Maybe the injector harness got pinched, maybe something wasn't, working, etc. I swapped in an injector harness from a car that I knew was working. It was one of the part outs that we had, and still the same thing. Cylinder 6 is dead. So for now, what I'm going to do for just peace of mind is I'm going to compression test it, which this motor should have good compression in that cylinder. I don't see why it would just lose compression in that cylinder completely, especially being NA. It's not really getting pushed too hard. So, I'm hoping that that's fine, but I'm just going to do it for peace of mind, just to rule that out. And then start to dive in a little deeper in the connectivity department, because I was talking to Sean, and it's a big possibility that when the car lost ground and shut power to the ECU so drastically that it shorted either the inlet or something on the ECU that sends signal to that injector harness or to that injector power or signal, whatever it may be. So I'm going to do the compression test, and then we're going to wait for Sean to get here, and he's going to help me run some tests on seeing connectivity from the injector plug to the ECU to hopefully narrow it down. Is it possible that the ECU fried? Sure. I'm sure that losing power how it did drastically like that could cause something to short in the ECU, and that short could be power to cylinder 6 injector, so I don't know. This is one of those things where I'll say it loud and proud, I am not a mechanic, but luckily I have friends who are, so we're gonna dive in a little deeper and hopefully get this resolved. Alrighty, guys. So we did a few things off camera. Sean was just left. He was just here. We did a compression test. It got over, I believe, like 230 psi, 240 psi in that cylinder. So we know mechanically the motor's fine. We ran some tests. We got power from the injector harness, power from the injector sub harness, also the little adapter for the FIC injectors worked fine. It was still getting power and signal. Then we did a test on each individual coil pack connector, and it seems that in cylinder 6 the signal coming off of the ECU is it's sending less voltage to just that one specific coil pack. So realistically, when we think about it, there's really nothing else that we can check. That signal wire comes directly from the ECU to this connector. So if it's sending low voltage on that one connector as opposed to the other 5, which is fine, it's sending like, I believe, 3 to 5 volts on every other one, and then this one was almost less than 1 volt. So that makes me think, okay, well, that signal's coming from the ECU, so the ECU pinout or whatever for that is fried, or the signal's not being sent correctly. So that only leaves me with one other thing, which is getting a new ECU, slapping it in, and seeing if that fixes it. So until we get that, this car is just going to be parked. However, I do have to put it back together, so I'm going to put it back together, and then I got to move that turd in there because I got to start taking that thing apart. So yeah, so this is just going to be sitting until we get a new ECU in. But let's set up a little time lapse right now, get the car back together, and be done. Alright guys, and just like that, she is put back together. So I'm gonna start rearranging some cars and then get this pulled out and have her sit until we get an ECU. So let's get it.
video room on both sides.
You should have just fucking sent it, dude. What are you gonna push it for? Yeah, you should have just sent it. Did it have a weight?
Yeah,
You sold it?
Oh.
It died out.